This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Laugh Cry Club. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea, and if you are an imperfect human walking alongside us in this human experience, laughing and crying, then this podcast is for you.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here. And
Yes.
if you're a new listener, we are 3 licensed therapists here to just normalize being a human and the complexities of being a human. It's a hard time. It's a hard life. We're all in it together. So we're glad you're here. The best way to support us is to rate our show and share it with a friend if you like us. All right. We start every episode with the laughs and cries of the week. What we laughed about, what we cried about, because we're always trying to look at life as like, hey, some days we laugh, some days we cry, some days we do both at the same time. And then we're going to talk today about resilience and perseverance, and then we will check in on next week's topic. So Chelsea, who is going first?
Today is an exciting day at the Laugh Cry Club. It's a day that we are grateful and happy and joyful to all be together. And I'm going to nominate our lovely, sweet Joy, who sent us a message of gratitude this morning that I know made me feel really good. And Rebecca, I think looking at your face, you feel good.
Yeah, I felt extremely loved
Me too.
and seen as a person. Thank you.
Yes. Same. So I think Joy would be the perfect nominee to start with her laugh and her cry.
Thank you guys. You know, it was just like one of those days where I woke up and I was like, I really am feeling super grateful and I really want to ride that train. You know, some days you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're not feeling like doing grateful things or feeling gratitude. But yeah, I was like, woo woo, gratitude train, and just really trying to be in that space of gratitude and manifesting. There's a lot of things that I think we forget when we're doing the day in and day out of being really intentional about our dreams and our goals. Okay, so I have some really funny laughs and cries for this week. I spent the weekend with a really dear friend of mine. I've known her for ages. She was the photographer at our wedding. She's an amazing photographer here, but she's also just like one of my spiritual guides. Like she's always talking to me about the meaning of life is like one of those friends you have where you like really have deep conversations. I bought some art from her this summer and I was like, hey, can you just hold on to it for a while because we're moving and just like leave it at your studio and I'll come by and get it. So that's what I did this weekend is I picked up my art and then we went and had brunch at this amazing Israeli restaurant named Safta in Denver. And it is, oh my gosh. So my cry was like just one of those moments where you're sitting there and you're like, I am so happy right now. Like we sat down and I'd never had brunch at this restaurant before. I've had dinner. And if you're in the Denver area, please go to Safta, Safta. It is so delicious. So the dinners are great, but I'd never had brunch. So it's like in one of those buffet situations where it's, you pay a price, you just eat anything you want. And they have this huge spread. Well, we sat down. They're like, yeah, just go grab a plate and get going with your food. And I turned the corner because we were like sitting around the corner from the buffet. I turned the corner and there was like the most beautiful spread I've ever seen in my life. Just like when I say gorgeous food, where you're just like looking at it and you want to cry. So I'm just like filling up my plate and just looking at all the delicious dishes. And my friend was like, so much love went into this. You can just tell. And like the people behind the buffet were like arranging and making juice. I mean, it was so beautiful. So we sat down and we just like looked at our plates and I took a moment and we both said some gratitude of like, thank you for the people who prepared this meal, almost like a blessing. And I was just saying how grateful I was for her. We just both started crying because it was like one of those moments where you're like, wow, life is really good if you just kind of stop, not to quote Ferris Bueller, but like if you just stop to appreciate it. If you just slow down.
Beautiful moment.
It was such a beautiful moment. So I love when kind of life catches you that way. And so that was my cry. It was just like so cool. And then so we went back to her house after because she lives really close by and I was just going to stop by, have like a cup of tea or whatever. So we get into her house and I see this like plush stuffed animal on her couch. I was like, oh, what a cute stuffed animal. I didn't say anything to her because we were like putting our stuff down, and then I go sit on the couch, and she sits kind of next to me, and I was almost like sitting bumping up against this stuffed animal. All of a sudden I hear this and I jumped up and I was like, what the fuck was that? She's like, oh, this cat is actually a robot. And
What?
it's a robot cat that she got. I mean, hear me out for why she has it. It's actually very sweet.
Oh, do tell. Do
Yes.
tell.
Her mom had dementia, and so whenever like she can't have an animal, so they have a lot of like robot animals in the facility to like be comfort, because they actually, you can get these on Amazon. I had no idea, but it's almost like a Teddy Ruxpin doll, but it looks like a cat. It looks like a real cat. So I sat on it and it started moving and meowing, and I just like leapt up, and we started laughing so hard because like, oh my god, what was that? I'm like, I thought it was fake, and then I thought it was real, and now I realize it's not real, and it's a robot. Like,
Joy, you know what I thought you were going to say is that her cat had passed away and that she had it taxidermied or stuffed, because, sometimes people do this.
People do
and I'm
that.
like, I thought you were going to tell us that it was your cat that had passed.
Oh my god! I mean, for a minute, I had like 20 thoughts in my head in that split second where it like meowed, it like sighed at me. It just did, but it was really cute. So then I held it and I was petting it, and it literally is like this cute little robot. I can see why people use these if people can't physically have a pet to care for a pet, that they kind of act like a real pet. But
Did
that
it
was my
purr?
laugh. It purrs, it vibrates, so you can like actually feel the comfort of a purring cat.
Wow.
And then it like lifts his hand, and it was like licking its,
What?
I mean, yeah, it's like,
What?
it is it. And the funny thing is, because like she's super spiritual and I totally believe in this, but she's like, Joy, honestly, I'll be sitting around my house and it will just start meowing. It's not supposed to react until you pet it. Like the robot like knows once it has like a hand on it, then it will start reacting. So she's like, I think there's like, ghosts. I think my mom's ghost is in this cat, which made me think of a Friends episode, which we also laughed about because Phoebe thinks her mom is a cat at one point in an episode. So anyway, we just had a good laugh and cry about that. It was such a wonderful day. But yeah, get yourself an electronic cat if you like want to freak people out. It was
I
quite-
have to ask,
quite something.
did you get a video of this cat by
It was
chance?
named Ginger is the name of the cat too. I can have her send it to me.
My mother-in-law's name is Ginger. That's interesting.
Oh my gosh.
And doesn't your mother-in-law have
Have
dementia?
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she has a cat named Katie Kitty that, at some point, if she ever has to go to a facility, that the cat probably won't be able to go. But this is great. Thank you for this.
This is so great because people love their animals. Our animals give us meaning and give us comfort. And how devastating to not be able to understand why you can't have your animal. I mean, I love, this is so sweet.
It was really sweet. She said her mom would hold it and like respond to it and be like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like just the nurturing action. And it was so, so beautiful where she would just hold it and respond when it would like move and check in with the cat. And then like the workers there don't have to like worry about an actual animal that they're worried about not being taken care of because the person just can't physically do that. But it was such an interesting, because I thought it was just something, because she has a lot of kids come into her studio for photography. And so I thought she like had this for the kids. She's like, actually, I just kind of inherited this thing from when my mom passed away. She's like, I just keep it around and it reminds me of my mom. And my friend has allergies, so she doesn't want to have pets. And so this is kind of like her way of having like a little, it was really cute. So sweet. Okay. I'm going to pass it over to Chelsea. Dun, 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 dun.
Ooh, I loved that. Thank you, Joy. Oh my gosh, I loved that so much. That whole story and your sweet face and your dun 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 dun. So good. So my laugh, my cry. My laugh is ridiculous. So my family was all gone. Everybody was gone. Steve went to go get chemo in Birmingham. Charlie was having a sleepover at her friend's house. Miles was having a sleepover at his house. And I had the whole house by myself with just my pets, which is very, very, very unusual. So I was like, oh my gosh, no one's going to be here. What am I going to do? So I was like, ooh, I'm going to watch a movie, and I was gonna watch Rebecca's recommendation. Well, you always recommend
Which
stuff.
one? Which
the
one?
Kate Winslet one.
Oh, The Regime?
The Regime. Okay,
It's so good.
Okay, so I popped popcorn, and I make popcorn, and then I melt honey, and I drizzle it over it, so it's kind of like sweet popcorn, sweet and salty. So I make this popcorn, and I didn't have any candy, so I got some like yogurt raisins. I was like, oh, that's kind of like a sweet snack, like a movie snack. And then I did have chocolate muffins, so I was like, okay, this will be it. So I set up this whole like snack thing, and I'm looking for this show, and for some reason my TV's like being weird. Now, everybody already knows this about me. I am not a big TV watcher. I do not use the TV that much.
Which I love that about you. And I kind of wish I was
Except
like
it's-
that, but I love my television.
Well, after this, you're not going to wish that. So I couldn't figure out how to get the HBO going and find the show. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just pick something else. So I went on Netflix and I picked some other show that had gotten like an Academy Award nominee or something. And so I sit down and I'm all excited and I'm like, 2 hours. God, can I sit for 2 hours? Like, this is going to be really long. And then I'm like pumping myself up. I'm like, I've got a whole quiet night. Like, this is going to be great. So I get on the couch and I snuggle in, and the animals are there and the candles are lit. And, we still have snow outside. It's a little magical. And I'm like snuggled up with a blanket, eating my snacks. And I'm playing this, and everything is in Spanish. And I'm like, oh, well, that's okay. Like it's probably set in like Mexico or something. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But the subtitles are in English. So I'm reading the English subtitles, and I'm like, it's going to switch to English at some point. So I watched this for like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I bet this is a setting on the TV that I like hit something when I was trying to do the
To
HBO.
where the audio was Spanish and the subtitles were in English. Like you hit something where it made the audio. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
What
So
was the name of the movie?
I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but all I know is by the time I figured it out, I'd eaten the whole bowl of popcorn. I already ate all the yogurt raisins. I ate the muffin, and I'm like, well, I'm done. Like, I watched something for 20 minutes.
Were you fat and rested afterwards?
I was fat and rested, and I was done, and I was like, I'll write for Substack. I'll do something else. But it was so like ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not even a good TV watcher. I'm like terrible. But I was so patient because I was so relaxed. So I was just reading along, and I'm like, this has got to switch to English at some point. I'm sure the TV's fine. It's probably I pushed too many buttons, but that was my laugh. So I just kind of cracked myself
And
up.
you don't even know what movie it was.
No, and I don't even remember. Because the truth is I probably wouldn't have made it through 2.5 hours. Anyways, even though I would have tried. So that was my dumb, silly, funny laugh. And my cry was something that we talk about on the Laugh Cry Club called a corrective emotional experience. For all you parents out there, when I was a young mother with young kids and would sometimes lose my mind and scream at my kids and throw an adult temper tantrum, this normally took place around messiness. I am one of those people who likes things very neat and tidy and organized. I'm pretty sure I'm undiagnosed like ADHD. And so keeping everything organized and tidy keeps me from losing my mind, because then I don't lose stuff all the time. And I used to lose stuff all the time, and then I would freak out and panic and be late, and it was a whole thing. So I learned to become very, very, very organized. And so messy spaces, not other people's houses, not other people's stuff, but my space, it totally stresses me out. It makes me like, I work from home. I cannot work from home, even if my office is perfect, if I know that there's other places that aren't. So anyways, my daughter wanted to redecorate her room. It's something that she wanted new furniture. She wanted to redo it. And I'm like, this is perfect. Like, let's do it. Let's do it over the weekend, blah, blah, blah. But that meant that my son, we were going to reorganize and put her furniture into his room because he needed better furniture and she wanted a new color of furniture. So my son was like, no. I don't want you to go in my room. I don't want you going through my stuff. I don't want you organizing. And I'm like, he's like, I'll do it. And I know he's not going to do it. He's super ADD, super inattentive. There's no way he's getting through this disaster. So I was like, I'll do it. And he's like, no, because then you get mad. And then I just had that flash of all the times I would get mad when things were like a disaster and like act in a way that is embarrassing and shameful. And if you're a parent, you probably know that emotional hangover where you you like are activated and you act in a way that's not aligning with your values and the parent you want to be. So I'm like, Miles, I promise you I'm not going to get upset. Like, I'm in it. I want to do this for you. You're going to love it. Your room's going to feel so good. You're going to have so much more space. It's going to be so much nicer. So we work on it together, and I'm in his room, and I mean, it's so much stuff shoved under the bed, trash, like he shoves everything. So there's shoved, like you move the bed, there's piles of stuff. So I start getting like kind of heightened, like I can't, like, why? Why? How is this okay? How is all this food? Like, this is so unsanitary and gross and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me and I saw him get that look, the look that I, like that look, the look that there is a wound, and that wound was caused by his mother. And I took a breath and I looked at him and I put my hands on him and I said, I love you so much. And I'm so excited of how good your room's going to look. And we're, like, I've got this. It's going to be wonderful. This is my gift. Thank you for letting me do this. And I saw his little face. Like, I saw him relax. I watched him have a corrective experience. And it makes me tear up because I think of all the fuck ups I've had as a parent. And I know we don't have to be perfect. We only have to get it right, most of the time. But what makes me tear up the most is how easy it is to heal another human just by owning your own shit and just by taking responsibility for your actions that hurt them rather than justifying and defending. Like, I could have justified and defended. And that part brings me to tears because I'm like, is it that fucking hard? It's not, right?
No,
To just say,
Kelsey.
like, this is a me issue.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed. And I made you feel bad. You're fine in your messy room, right? So anyways.
But I want to that's a beautiful moment. It's such a beautiful moment. And I wonder a lot about why it's so hard to have those corrective emotional experiences, or for you, instead of getting defensive, to kind of lean into it and be like, wow, this is my stuff. That's really hard to do.
It is hard because
But why is it hard? Is it us being like, oh, we're failed, we're imperfect humans? What is it that we do?
Because the feeling is so uncomfortable that as soon as we blame another person and defend, we get to release that feeling without feeling the shame.
Like responsible,
accountable.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we're like, so we will blame others. We will defend our positions because we want to be right, because being wrong, somewhere there is shame in there. It's why people don't apologize. Like, we teach our kids to apologize all the time. And people will be like, what? I had a mother say it to me. What? You apologize to your kids? I'm like, all the time. She's like, well, I mean, I'm like, we all know that we're not perfect, right? Like, I don't have the expectation for them to be perfect. I don't have the expectation for myself to be perfect, but there's embarrassment, there's feeling wrong, there's shame, there's wanting to feel that comfortable, like I'm okay. And for me, it's shame. For me, it's, I am so embarrassed about the way that I have acted before that I want it to be like, this is about you shoving trash in your room, but it's not. This is about me and the wound I have with all the times in my life where I couldn't find my stuff, misplaced things, felt like an idiot, felt stupid, lost my phone, lost my purse, lost all these things. And now I've overcompensated with this coping skill. There's a lot of layers there. So I think it's then like, how do we go to those layers and say like, okay, that's my experience. I don't need to make that his experience. And I'm okay. The house can be a disaster and I can still be okay. And if I lose my keys and I'm late, that's okay too. So I guess maybe compassion. I don't know.
Well, and it was safe. It was safe for you to do that. It was safe for you to, your son is going to love you no matter what. So when we do that with safe people, it feels like we're healing. I'm always just I'm selfishly just fascinated by why it's so hard, because I'm just speaking from my own personal experience of like, wow, that's a struggle for me. I've joked about like having a hard time apologizing sometimes because I just get, so it's something I'm constantly trying to evaluate, the times when I feel it. When you're doing it, you feel it being like, it's almost like an inner child being like, no, I'm not going to admit I'm wrong. It's like,
it is because it is your inner child. There was a year of my life I spent, there's a really wacko lady. Her name is Byron Katie. She is very fascinating to me. But she does this method. It's called the work. And
That name sounds so familiar. I need to Google that.
She's kind of like, she's like one of those people who like lost her mind. She woke up in a mental hospital with like a cockroach crawling on her and had this epiphany. And basically she does this 4-step process. But I did it because I don't do any interventions on anybody ever that I haven't done on myself. And I was really curious. And there's some psychology in what it is that she does, but she's not a therapist. But basically, it was anytime you have a should for somebody else, or you have an ought to, or you have, something like that, you flip it on yourself. So you say, I don't know, my husband shouldn't have cheated on me. You flip it. I shouldn't have cheated on myself. And then you find the evidence to support, how did you cut yourself short? How did you cheat on yourself? How did you do that? And you keep owning and going back to your wounds. And it's really fascinating because it helps to give you we know judgment is a shortcut to our wounds, right? Like, I'm judging something because I'm uncomfortable about it. What makes me uncomfortable? What is hurt inside of me? How do I flip this to take my responsibility? So many ways. It's kind of a complex thing, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like the "You Spot It, You Got It" that I mentioned.
Totally.
with
Yes.
the
Totally.
article that I read that was basically, so when you have a judgment, when you have something with a beef with someone else, you basically you need to look at yourself in the same way of, okay, if this person is making me mad, what about me is carrying the same thing?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, lots of psychology behind this. We have the Jungian shadow self. We have, projective identification. We have so many areas. We want to cut off the darkness, but we all have it. We all have the darkness. And if you don't acknowledge the darkness, how can we enjoy the light of life? Okay, I am really gone in a deep dive.
That was a great one. No, we got to
It's
deep dive it. We got to deep dive.
Deep dive. But with that said, I see an athlete. I spy with my little eyes an athlete who has multiple medals. Are those multiple medals hanging in the background,
we've got
Rebecca?
a plethora.
Some trophies.
Oh,
trophies
my
too,
God.
and some patches.
Wow.
Gonna get
so
another one this weekend.
Whoop, whoop. Oh, okay.
We're going to
then.
High Rocks
We're going to
together.
High Rocks
Yeah,
this
you
weekend.
are.
Watch
Oh
our
my
stories because
God.
We're gonna
be
sweat all over each other.
That sounds
It's our
amazing.
first time meeting in person too. Like, this will be
Love?
Yes.
fun. No, I was talking to my trainer about it, and I was like, because I was going over some doubles strategy with her because she's done doubles. I've never done it, and I was like, oh yeah, and remember, this is the first time we're actually even meeting in person. She's like, oh wow, that'll be something.
We're just like meeting and doing this like really
We're
intense
just like, let's
workout
just-
teamwork. We're just gonna go with it. I think it'll be
mean,
great. Yeah.
if two people can do that, it's y'all.
It's like, if you want to get out of a volcano, like, I'm going to ask Joy to be there with me, and like, we're going to get out of the volcano together.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then I'll
nobody's
be
getting
on the
left
other
behind.
side. I'll be on the other side to do the processing of the volcano.
And snacks.
And snacks.
I mean, I
Yep.
love snacks.
No, I love what you were sharing, Chelsea, because that kind of goes into my cry that, after we talked about our attachment styles, I've just been reflecting more of being a little kid. And then our topic today made me think about being a little kid too. And I don't know, the last few weeks have been really hard for me. And so I went through something last week that really was like a sob festival. I haven't had one of those in a few weeks, but it just came from this really intense place of feeling hurt and wounded. When somebody challenges my character of who I am as a person, I get really upset, like emotionally upset about it. Not so much like I'm going to attack somebody or anger or aggression, but I kind of start to melt inwardly and be like, I know me, and people that love me know me. Like, they would never say these things about me. And I think that's kind of like the worst way to hurt me as a person, to question my character. And so that happened, and yeah, it was just really difficult. So I think it goes back to kind of what you were talking about, how you were seeing Miles. And I was just having a conversation with a friend too about how there's a lot of psychological unsafety going on in the world currently, and how some people are really happy with where we are as a nation, but there are some people that are really struggling, and they really do fear for their lives. And that, why can't we just look at people compassionately and say, I might I might be feeling extreme happiness and joy, but this person actually is seriously afraid. And like, why can't I just reach out to them and offer them like an olive branch and be like, I want to understand why you're afraid. And I'm sorry as a human, because that's a terrible feeling to have. Like, so it just kind of all comes together, I think, with what you were saying, how you saw Miles, you had he had the corrective emotional experience, but that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't seen him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because when you see, it's interesting, Rebecca, I was writing about this, was if we could see other humans instead of going into what do you look like, what's this, what's like, if you could see people, if we could close our eyes and feel, because I think seeing somebody is feeling somebody, we would probably almost always assume good intent, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I also think about everyone as a little wounded child when I see people like cutting me off in traffic. It's so funny. Traffic is always like where people, get the most angry, and I'm always like, oh, I wonder what happened. Like, be gracious if someone is having a bad day or mad. They probably had a bad situation growing up. But it's not an excuse. It's just that sometimes it brings us more to a compassionate standpoint.
Because the hurt that Rebecca's talking about, the hurt of not being seen, not taking in the context, right, of the vulnerabilities that are going on in the world, that are going on personally. Like, these things matter. And we have to, maybe we don't have to, but I would hope that we all have an opportunity to push our own pause button and get really big before making somebody else feel small.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you said that. Hit our own pause button.
Otherwise, we're just passing wounds back and forth, and that's not fun. It's like hot potato, hot potato, hot potato.
Hot potato.
We don't need to hot potato our wounds. Like, be compassionate, kind, be the example of,
Yeah. So that was my cry, but my laugh is a lot more fun. We went to a comedy show over the weekend. We went to see Drew Lynch. I don't know if anybody on this is familiar with him, but he actually was on America's Got Talent like years and years and years ago. And his publicist used to advertise him as the stuttering comedian. And I was curious as to how he always felt about that. And he actually talked about it in his show over the weekend, that he doesn't want to be referred to as that because it's a disability, and he works on that constantly. And I don't know, it was just really great because look him up, Drew Lynch. Lynch is his last name. He's really great. He's funny, but it was a really great show. While we were there, we met some randos, which was really fun. So I have this thing that I like to do. I'm a little late for the train. The whole photobombing thing. Like, I probably wasn't in on photobombing when it was really a thing, but I'm into it right now.
I don't think it ever gets old. I love it.
Okay.
I love it so much.
I was like, I'm so out of date, but here I am.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, that was out of style. Okay, keep going.
I'm assuming,
Gen X, we don't know.
I know,
anything.
I'm just getting into it. But so, these girls are in front of us and they're like trying to get a picture, and I'm like trying to get in the thing, and the one girl's like sees me and is like cracking up hysterically, and the other one's like, I'm trying to get the lighting right, and the other girl's like, there's so many in the picture. And so they turn around and they're like laughing hysterically. So we just have this total conversation, hit it off. And then it's like, she has a screensaver on her phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that your dog? It's really cute. And then it became this whole festival of her sharing her dog, Louie's pictures with us. We are sharing our dog's pictures with them. We're talking about it. And then the other girl is like, she's the aunt, the cat aunt. And so she has all the cats. And so she's sharing her pictures of her cats. Like, it's a total just random people. It all started because I tried to photobomb them.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Isn't that fun?
I love that.
So fun.
And we were just like having this whole conversation about pets, and then they left before we did. And so even when they left, they got up out of their seats and came by, and then they like tapped us on the shoulders like, it was so great meeting you, on their way out. Like, they didn't have to do that.
That's so cute. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that cool?
You know what? I have to say, though, some of my favorite photos are with a photobomber, because I think it's so funny when you get a photobomb, when it just
Yeah.
like naturally happens. Some of our best photos, like I'll look back with my friends and we will just laugh because like, remember that guy that like jumped in
It's
our
so
photo?
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I do peace signs all the
Peace signs
time
all the
on each
time.
side of my face. I'm
Did
like,
they know that you are so famous?
I don't know.
A
Well,
famous
soon they
person
will, because they'll be like, oh
photobombed
my
them.
gosh, a famous podcaster jumped into our photo.
Wow. Yeah, she did.
Yeah. But yeah, it was so fun. Great show. Look them up. It was fun. Always talk to a rando and always photobomb.
Always talk to a rando.
And photo bomb, 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 bomb. Da-da-da. Okay, it's time to move to our next topic of the week.
Which is, we're talking about resiliency and perseverance, right?
Yes,
Oh
we sure
my
are.
gosh.
So, what is it? Like, these are big words.
These are big words, big words. Get out the dictionary, everybody. No, this feels like something that it's like, how do you describe sad? It almost feels like you have to really get into what is resiliency? Like, what the heck is that? What is perseverance? So I thought it would be helpful for us to kind of share our own personal experiences of like what that means to us and maybe how we developed resiliency and perseverance. I think about like when I was young and my upbringing in a town that was like one religion and I was another religion, and so that kind of like put some discrimination on me as a kid. So I had to kind of like build up my chops, so to speak, of fitting in. So I think of that as like almost like an origin of where I built up some resiliency and perseverance, because I chose to take that as a situation where I was like, well, I have to like fit in here and I need to show people that I am worthy. So that's kind of an example of where I feel like the origin started. But Chelsea, what do you think?
Well, I think that is absolutely valid. And I think it's important to at least try and understand what resiliency is, because it is such a big word. So really it's our ability to adapt and recover and thrive. So we all are going to experience adversity. I think it's Brene Brown who says we are wired for struggle, but worthy of love and belonging. And we know love and belonging builds resiliency. So basically it's like I face something hard. My world falls apart and I know I'm going to be okay. I'm going to rebound. I'm going to be okay. And so when I think of resiliency, we know the average person has, I think there's an average of 3 traumas everybody will have in their lifetime. And how we recover from that trauma is directly related to our resiliency and our perseverance of like, I've got this, I can do this. How do I work through? So I think defining it is a helpful way to start.
It's interesting this has come up because back when I was in my first graduate program, I wrote a thesis about the resiliency of survivors of domestic violence. So I did this whole data collection on it. So I was looking at the women that can make it, or men too, can make it out of these relationships and then they survive it and then they actually get on the other side and thrive. It was really interesting to look at what those factors might be. I don't remember all the stuff from then, but I feel like it's important to mention like there are certain protective factors too that come into play when we're talking about resilience, right? Because we're not all like built or wired the same way. Like we have social protective factors, environmental ones, and personal ones. And so I don't want to go into all of them, but just an idea like home life when you're young, how you're growing up helps determine how you will manage or deal with adversity. Do you have a social support system like a safety net? Do you have the ability to communicate and have empathy? Those are really important. And then your problem solving skills, your self-compassion. Do you have a level of optimism? And even humor is part of it helps on how you will deal with adversity and make it through so that you can thrive.
Like laughing and crying.
Exactly.
The laugh and the cry.
Exactly.
This makes me think of the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I mean, this to me is kind of like the epitome of resilience and perseverance.
It is.
Yep.
If you haven't read it, please go read it. It
Read
really
it.
is like the search for meaning was the primary motivation in life. So someone that was in a concentration camp, truly just impossible things to overcome. The search for meaning was the primary motivation that kept him going. I know that's like not every single person is going to reach that level of adversity, but to just kind of think about what you have to hang on to in order to keep going is what I think of as well. No matter if it's a small thing up to a big thing, how do you develop that and how do you keep going?
Joy, yes. Thank you for sharing. Man's Search for Meaning is such an incredible book. When I read it in grad school, I actually got the Nietzsche quote tattooed on my arm that said, "That which doesn't destroy you makes you stronger." And it was during one of the worst depressive episodes in my entire life. The time where I had talked about where I'd gotten really suicidal, and my therapist told me, "You want to stop feeling suicidal? Stop faking it. Your life is hard. Things are hard right now." And it was that validation that helped me, right? So somebody saw the struggle. They validated me. I was vulnerable enough to be seen, even if it was with my therapist who I was paying to see, right? So we know this culturally, that culturally there's many cultures that are extremely resilient. We know that having a witness to your life, having a sibling, maybe you had trauma and you had your best friend was your sibling who witnessed it and mirrored it. That's why I always feel so bad for only children. They didn't have somebody to say, "Wow, this was completely fucked up and traumatizing for us." They just had it on their own, right? I think it's harder. So even just having that one person, the coach at school, the pet, that dog that you can go to, the neighbor, all of that connection is what builds the resiliency, because it reminds you that you're not alone. And, we need our experiences to be validated. We need people to mirror back to us that we're going to be okay and give us that grit of, you can do this. You can do hard things. That it's a huge part of us. When we aren't resilient and we're really struggling, that's when we're going back to, we talked about a little bit earlier, the blaming, right? Like, I don't want to feel this feeling, so I'm going to be a victim. I'm going to blame everybody else. I'm not going to take any responsibility for this, because if I do that, then I don't have to feel the shame, or I don't have to feel like I actually now have to do something to fix my life, right? So people sometimes who are really resilient, they're very stubborn. They're like, "I'm getting through this. The hell with you. You're not going to ruin my world. I've got this. I'm going to come out better," right? So we have different mentalities. We have other people who say, "I got knocked down. I'm never going to try this again." We have to take perfectionism out of it. So you have to acknowledge that your journey is not going to be linear and perfect. We're going to go through it, and it's going to be messy, and it's going to be hard, and we're going to make mistakes. You have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to feel the feeling and do the hard thing anyways.
What about self-worth and confidence? Because I also equate this a little bit to motivation. I'm always fascinated. This is why I'm in psychology. I always wonder why some people go in this path and some people go in that path. So maybe if they had a hard upbringing, they lean on substances, they go to kind of the self-destructive path, where some people will be like, "I'm going to as far away as possible from this life, and I'm going to make my life as great as possible." So that fork in the road is always very that fork in the road is always very fascinating to me. And I think a lot about motivation is tied to kind of resilience, because there's that piece of, I'm worth it. I have the confidence to change and make a better outcome for myself. Do you think of it that way?
I see what you're saying. How do people kind of find that motivation to end up being resilient?
Yeah, I'm thinking about resilience. We can talk about resilience and perseverance, but I also feel like you have to have motivation to do that. And you have to have self-worth and confidence to think that you're worthy enough to keep going, is kind of where I'm thinking about that piece. It's all tied together.
Yeah.
And so I think what I'm also trying to say to our audience is it's not just and I know we're not saying this, but sometimes people can take it as well, where do you get that resiliency and perseverance? How do you get those traits? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interrupting. It's your why. What's your why? For me in life, my why, a lot of that is tied up to my kids. I want to be better and do better because, example, going through cancer treatment, I can't fall apart. Because if I do, then my kids are going to fall apart and my husband's not going to have the support that he needs. There isn't a choice for me to be resilient and to show up, because my why is so much bigger than anything else, right? So what is the why? Sometimes we see this in little kids. We see an older sibling who their why is to protect their younger siblings. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to protect. I'm going to do this. We see this with people who, Miles had a kid, there's a wrestler, he's nationals. He has one leg. And national. I think he's up there. What's his why? Right? Because he believes in himself. He knows he can do it, or he wants to show the world that he can do it. We all have that why. So what is your why? Because that's something you can hold on to.
Chelsea, what do you say to somebody that, maybe they do have kids and they think that, their why is I want to do things for my kids, but they still feel like they're so maybe depressed or down, they have no energy. They can't, because I do think that it's their why, but you said something else too that I think drives it is how your self-confidence, like, do you believe in yourself enough? Because
Yes.
it's like,
Do you
I may
believe
have
in
a
yourself?
why, but I still may not even, that may not be enough to motivate me because maybe I'm so depressed or so anxious that I can't see how to start to get things in motion.
Yes, this is why we need other humans.
Okay, yeah.
Because this is where somebody comes to therapy and they say, I'm failing as a mother. And I can look and say, did you brush your teeth today? Did your kid go to school today? Like, that's amazing. When you're in a depressive episode, that is fucking amazing to me that you even got up enough to be responsible, because depression is brutal. When you have a loved one, especially when I've worked with people who have a sick child, right? You are in your own grief and loss. You're fucking terrified. You need to be able to have somebody where you can fall apart and say, I think I'm doing it all wrong. I'm screwing up. I'm not getting it right. You have to have another person who's like, I've got you. You don't have to be 100% because I'm going to help you. This is where we need helpers. So I would say, we can build that confidence. We can build that over time, but I don't think it's that simple. I think we need a lot of different things, because sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. We need someone else to believe in us.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because this is what I keep getting stuck on. And, just so you know, Laugh Cry Club, a lot of these things that we talk about, I'm still working through or trying to understand myself.
We all are.
Yeah.
Me too.
So it's such a good reminder of, on days when we don't have motivation, confidence, that really builds on resilience, perseverance, keep going, that we just need people, we need community, and we need to rely on one another. And so that's why it's so important to have that as our baseline. Because what I also don't want people to think too, as we're talking about this, is like just a simple fix. That I never want to make it seem like that, because this is so complex. And if you were raised to feel like a piece of crap, it would be like, yeah, nice for you to be all we never want to put a positive shiny spin on it when it really is just so hard. Life is just so hard. So I just needed to say that again.
I want to share something about how people can help you, because as a kid, I was actually born with strabismus, which is a lazy eye. And through my life, I've had 4 surgeries. And as a kid, I mean, you can see it in my photos. It's, so I was always worried about people making fun of me. Kids make fun of anything that seems out of place or different. And I just remember, like, my parents were always really supportive. My family, nobody ever said anything inappropriate. Like, they always were really supportive. And even my teachers, like, I think my teachers would step in and kind of protect me from anybody being mean to me. It's like, I remember in 2nd grade that I had to have a surgery and I was going to be out of school for a week. A little bit embarrassed about by coming back to school or people knowing why I was out. But so had to stay at home. And I just remember my 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Komar, like, my whole class, she had them make cards out of, little kid construction paper cards, like, we miss you, hope you get well. And then she brought those over to my house to see me. And so it was something that, like, I always worried about and could have, like, knocked me down about people making fun of me. But these other people kind of surrounded me so that I could that helped me be resilient. Like, I can get through really hard things then. I mean, that's in 2nd grade.
Oh my God.
You know what? You made me just think of, like, the people who have influenced us along the way. That's like the teachers that you have these moments
they're
where
so
like,
important.
he believed in you. Like, I had a 1st grade teacher who made me feel so special because I was such a, like, insecure, like, I don't know. I was a little hot mess, but, like, I wanted approval so bad from any teacher
You were
I
a
could
cute
get.
little hot mess, I
was
bet.
So
cute,
sweet,
but, like,
sweet joy.
she would, like, we would pass notes back and forth to each other, and she made me feel so special. Like, I loved that. I loved, like, writing notes to my teacher and being like, you're such a great teacher. And she'd, like, leave a note in my desk. Like, I will never forget that. Like,
so
I felt so
cute.
special. Or, like, any of those teachers who said, Joy, I think you would be a great leader in this. Or, like, I don't know.
Somebody
saw you.
Yes, they saw you and they believed in you and they showed you a part of yourself that you could not see yourself. We do this all the time. We don't even, when I was a waitress, I remember I would get notes every so often from a customer that would say, like, thank you so much for being so sweet. Thank you for your smile. I was having a horrible day. I'm so glad I went out to eat. And I saved all of these in a box. So when I would go through depressive episodes, I would go back and remind myself, like, you're okay, you're okay. And my sister used to add affirmations to this box, and then she would have friends because I struggled with such bad depressive episodes. I mean, these were the people who held me when I couldn't hold myself. In turn, these acts of connecting with a random person, I know we laugh about it and talk about it all the time, but that you don't know if you're saving somebody's life that day just by smiling and seeing something in them. So let's try and remember that. We can wrap up on the note. Sometimes we have the most beautiful, magical parts of ourselves that are resilient, and we don't even know they're there because we just have had too much shit happen in our lives to be able to see it. And the darkness is so dark that we can't find that flashlight. Sometimes we need help, and it's okay to be brave and vulnerable and just say, hey, I need help, and lean in. And that's a great way to build resilience, because we all need it.
Yeah.
And we're all worthy.
And maybe it's, we have the resilience, but you could be the resilience giver to other people too.
Yes,
You're
you
building
can.
them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
How about for the next week, we just try to build up other people.
Love it.
I mean, done. I
Done and
love it.
done.
Just build it.
If
Yeah.
you see someone out there and you have a chance to say something, maybe like I was at Costco a few weeks ago and there was this guy that was like, he looked like a huge bodybuilder. I was like, oh my gosh, he was a huge bodybuilder, like just walking around, big muscles. And in my brain, I was like, oh, he probably gets this all the time. But I just like passed by him and he was joking with a friend about eating a piece of cake. And I was like, you don't eat cake. I was like, look at you. And he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He was like so grateful that I was like giving him this compliment. I thought, oh, I really do need to do that more often. Like building people up, like giving them confidence, giving them a boost. If you see it,
so
say
He
it.
worked hard on those muscles.
He
Yeah,
really
and
had.
we don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe he was an overweight kid, and maybe he
Yeah,
has his
look at
own
that.
inner kid. Okay, so let's do the challenge of the week for our Laugh Cry Club's members. If you see something and you think a sweet, nice thought, say it.
Go ahead and say it.
How about just say it? You see someone's pretty pink lipstick and you go, wow, that's a really lovely color.
Yep.
Just say the thing.
You can say it in a comment. If you see someone on Instagram that's
Put it
doing
on
a great
Yeah,
job.
put it in a chat, whatever.
Say it in person. I love this energy. Okay.
Okay, so next
Yes.
week, y'all.
Yes. Next week, and write us and tell us the outcome because we love hearing about it.
And include permission for
Yes.
us to use your name and where you're located.
Or we're going to make it anonymous. So
We're not going to
yeah.
come find you, we
Yeah.
promise.
We
Yeah, we just want to know if it's okay because we want to make sure we're asking for permission.
Yes. So next week we are going to talk about a check-in. It'll be the first week of February. So we've been a full month into 2025 and we just want to talk about how is it going? How are we feeling about the new year so far? We've talked a lot about resolutions or at least behavior changes and the things that we want to bring into the new year. So how are we feeling about it? It'll just be like a nice leisurely check-in for 2025. So that's it for this week. You can find us on social media at Laugh Cry Club. Please follow us on all of our social media channels. Drop us a note, laughcryclub@gmail.com. We love to hear feedback and we welcome any questions that you have that you would like us to answer on the show. As always, thank you so much for supporting us. We are here to help and we love you very much. Until next week. Bye, everybody.
Until then, bye.
That's life, baby.